All right, guys, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Supremacy 1914 Universe update. And we are here, obviously, talking about the game mechanics update. Everyone's talking about it. It's a huge deal, actually. So what I kind of want to do is just break down some of the bigger aspects that are explained here and talk about how that's going to actually impact our game on the ground. So let's take a look. Let's dive in. So here's the actual mechanic update, part one. Assumedly, part two is coming. But let's just look at the big things that are coming here. First of all, flowering is no longer possible. Splitting units and sending them to one direction gave a significant combat advantage to players, and it was not initially intended by us. This time we fixed it to make combat fair and easier. So that's pretty big. No more flowers. We don't know what that looks like. What does that mean even? We've talked about it in our coalition quite extensively. So for instance, if you send units to if you command them through an attack zone and you land them at different places, in the past that was enough to keep them in different stacks. So, the problem, and this is, I maintain this, the problem in the maybe the intended way of attacking is, let's just say you send in a stream of attackers, right? Just every 10 minutes, 10 more attackers arrive, right? So the first 10 attack, right? They land, they attack. And let's say there's 100 defenders. It doesn't even matter. And so now they're on a 45-minute timer to attack again. Now remember, 10 minutes later, 10 more attackers land on that square. Do they attack? No, they don't. They wait now 35 minutes. Remember that the first 10 were on a 45-minute timer, but 10 minutes has passed. So no, they just join in with the first 10 and they wait 35 minutes. They're now on that timer for the next attack. Now, don't forget, 10 minutes later, another 10 arrive. So now you have 30 units minus however many died from the first attack, right? But your third stack of 10 arrives now, right? Do they attack? No. They join the army and wait to attack, and now they're waiting 25 minutes to attack. So now you have, I'm going to say 30, but minus whatever was lost in that very first attack of 10 versus whoever was in there. And then another 10 attacks 10 minutes later. Do they actually attack? No. They join the waiting army, and now they have to wait 15 minutes to attack. Okay, so now we have 3 armies that arrived on the scene and just didn't attack. They just camped out with the very first 10 that attacked. It's like they showed up, they're like, what's going on? The first 10 were like, oh, we're tired, we just attacked. And then they were like, okay, well, we'll just hang out with you then until you're ready to attack again. Normally if we could attack as soon as we arrived, like normally, but now that because there's an army already here, like we'll just wait with you guys. And so in this scenario, another army arrives, right? 10 minutes later, 10 more units attack, 10 more infantry arrive 10 minutes later. Do they attack? No, they join and they wait and they attack. It's ridiculous. The way the mechanic was ridiculous. If you send units in streaming, they should attack when they arrive. There's just no way around that. Unless you have a specific strategy for everybody to gather there on the battlefield and then attack, they should attack as they arrive. Now, arguments can be made about efficiency, unit efficiency, because part of what unit efficiency is that how many land units can you fit in the battlefield. So the old standard of 5 was that 5 being 5,000 infantry units. That's about as many as you could reasonably fit in a territory in a particular battle, with foxholes and defensive fortifications, digging in, sandbags, whatnot. 5,000 is about how many you could have on the front. Anybody else would have to be behind them and therefore get reduced attack damage as they attack in. So there's some validity to all of that. But the point being, like, even so, even if you reduced efficiency to account for that, why does the new troops just wait? They're fresh. In the scenario I was describing there, you'll have 3 fresh stacks of 10. Hell, you could have 3 stacks of 100 come in after that first 10. And they're all going to wait with that first 10 until they're ready to attack again. Why? Because they were first on the scene, and now we're all adhering to their time clock. The whole thing is kind of weird. So the flower, in some ways, what the flower did was just assure that every troop, as they arrived, attacked when they arrived. And the way they did that was by not glomming into the main stack. As soon as you arrive, you attack, and you stay separate from the others. In our coalition, we sort of determined that it's actually you deal a lot of damage, but keep in mind every time you arrive and attack, the defender gets to defend. So you deal a lot of damage, but for every bit you deal, you get dealt in return, right? So it's not some magical you win every time kind of scenario at all. In fact, we even kind of talked about the idea that because you're flowered, let's say you have 4 petals attacking in A, B, C, and D, right? So A attacks and gets defended against, right? Then B comes in, and if you're doing a flower, by the way, they don't have to come in 10 minutes apart, as per my description. If you send them to different locations, they can all arrive pretty much at the same time, seconds apart, or even at the same time, and deliver that damage simultaneously, right? So anyway, A arrives, attacks, gets attacked back, right? But B, C, and D are all right there, clustered together, attacking in. So any splash damage, and by the way, infantry have splash damage, it's not a big radius, but there's some splash damage. Any splash damage on that counterattack hits B, C, and D. Then B attacks in, does some great damage, gets attacked back, right? Gets countered, defense attacked. And A, C, and D get a little bit of splash, right? And it continues on. C attacks in, gets their full attack damage, gets countered, gets defended, and A, B, and D get a little bit of splash. My point being, it's not a lot of splash, but it's enough to be this concept of like, you attack 4 times, they defend 4 times, but there's a little bit of splash that bleeds over it. And every one of those 4 attacks, a little bit of splash attacks, defends back over to your other 3. And so it has been our experience that if you attack in, you will deal a massive amount of damage, but you will also receive more damage than you do. That's been our experience. But, it's weird in this game. Like, we'll also get into situations where somebody flowers us and just destroys us, and it's like, what the hell just happened? But we've kind of come to that conclusion intellectually. We're not 100% sure about that. We know we have a lot to learn in this game for sure. But the point being that if flowering is no longer possible, what does that mean? Does that mean that we're going back to the time where if a unit even comes into the region, then they immediately join the existing army that has already attacked, and they immediately wait for the next attack? Because if that's what they're saying, I hate that. I hate that so much. It's like, I send an army of 100 to a territory. As soon as they get there, they attack. Unless there's a group of 5 there that have already attacked 5 minutes ago. Then my army of 100 will join the army of 5, or whoever's left over after that attack, and wait 40 minutes for them to rest and get ready to attack again. I hate that. I hate that particular idea of glomming on at the front. I think maybe they should glom on eventually, but at least the initial attack, everybody should attack when they first get there. It just doesn't make sense otherwise. It really doesn't. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out. So talking about flowering, not possible. Let's see how that plays out. I'm not sure. Another big thing, size factor has changed. So before, it varied for different units. Now it is not dependent on the type of unit, but on the stack size itself. Units contribute with 100% strength up to stacks of 20. After 20 units, strength linearly drops to 0 until a stack size of 50. Now, very interesting and weird. What does this mean? So people are talking about that stacks of 20 now potentially could have full efficiency. So if you had 20 infantry, you'll attack in with 1.2 for each of those. So your attack being what? I can't even do the math. 22.4 or whatever the fuck it is. Still massive. In the past, it would have been more like 6 or something because of that drastic drop off of efficiency after 5. So a lot of people are talking about, well, now what we're going to be doing is attacking him with stacks of 20. But this reads in a very interesting way. Size factor penalty that existed in the game before and varied for different units was reconsidered. Now it is not dependent on the type of unit, but on the stack size itself. So the stack, that means it could be varied units within that same stack. So you could conceivably have, a stack of 50 that is 10, 10 heavy tanks, 10 light tanks, 10 artillery, 10 armored cars, and 10 infantry, right? And it means to me that the efficiency of those drops drastically after 20. So even when it's a mixed unit, like what we used to have to do, of course, was just the best thing you could possibly do was send in a stack with 5 of every unit, right? Because they have maximum efficiency. But what this is saying is that even if you have 5 of every unit, if you have 40 units and you have 5 of every unit in there, but it's 40 units, you will lose efficiency. I think. I don't know. We're going to learn a lot about this moving forward. It's very, very interesting. Some of the other stuff here is unit health affects its movement speed. So that makes sense. When you're wounded, you move slower. Down here, unit health affects the damage you do. I agree with that 100%. If you are a damaged unit, if the unit is unhealthy or damaged or harmed, then they will deal less damage. That makes sense to me as well. And I do want to scroll back down here to one very important thing here, as far as I'm concerned, is corruption at war penalty were replaced. So we're talking a lot in the chats about this as well. What this means, I think, is that you will no longer be given a -5 per at war morale penalty when you're at war with a team or with a country. Instead, it's going to be based on the provinces owned. So the more provinces you owned that you own, the more morale penalty you have. I happen to freaking love this idea. Okay, I love this idea because number one, people can spam you. You can be up against a coalition and 5 to 7 people can all go to war with you at once and just wreck your morale. And why? Why would that wreck your morale? That somebody halfway across the globe declares war on you is not going to seriously destroy your morale. Especially if you're a strong leader and you've had successes up until now, your people love you, blah, blah, blah. But also what I love about this is, so there's speculation that what killed the Roman Empire was its size. It just got too big. It had too many provinces to feed. It starved. There were too many slaves. There were more slaves in the Roman Empire than there were, voting citizens. There's a lot of concepts about it, but the overall sort of idea is that all empires eventually fail because they get too big. They're too big to administrate. They're too big to defend. They're too big to feed, to have a network of reinforcement and supplies. And so I kind of love this. What this means is that as you grow larger and larger, you have got to be on your economic game. You've got to be building forts for morale. You've got to be building other morale building and economic building things such as railways and factories and harbors, so forth. So I kind of love this maybe most of all. Now, all of this stuff we're going to see played out. So let's talk about played out. What does that mean? That means we have a beta game going on right now. Right this moment, a beta game is happening. This beta game is supposedly practicing all of these particular new features. So what do we have here? We have my 17 in here is attacking a 10 with no fort. All right, so looking at the 17, according to what we just read, shouldn't the 17 have full combat strength moving in? Now, granted, this 17 is at 67% morale, so that's not great. But this 17 is attacking in with 7.5 strength. That's not great. That's not great at all. In fact, if I'm attacking in with full strength, what is 17 times 1.2? Well, it's at least 17, and it's more like 20. And 67 is not great morale, but it's not going to take me from 20 down to 7.5. So I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm not sure what the new attack metric means. It might mean something more subtle than what we really understand. Now, one of the things I really want to do during this video is talk about the flower. So here's the old flower. I'm going to go ahead and just do it. I'm going to send another 14 into here to another destination. That was one of the easiest ways of doing the flower. Here we go. So here we have a flower. I'm doing a flower in a game that claims that there is no ability to do the flower. And here's what I want to see. How will they stop me? I don't understand how they can stop me. This 17 is going here and has to be kept separate from the others because it has separate marching orders to go to a separate place. This 14 is going straight through to the middle here, and this 10 is going straight through over to here. Now, they will stop and fight because they can't pass through an enemy territory without fighting. That's a given. If we could find a way to do that, we'd win many a game by sneaking around active battles. But all three of these stacks have to become engaged here. So the question becomes, if they really do make me glom together into one stack, how does the AI then, or the algorithm then, separate me back into three stacks, going to three different destinations, and how do they determine how many of them were destroyed out of each individual stack? I'm not saying that can't be done, because it can, and actually probably fairly easily in terms of, just proportions or whatnot. But I really want to see what happens here. I'm fascinated by this idea. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause this video right now, and let's just answer the question of flowers right up front. What happens when this guy drops? He's going to get there in 3 hours and 19 minutes. Oh, that sucks. As you can see, it's 11 o'clock my time. That's too late. Wow. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. Just not right now. How about that? I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll go ahead and see how this lands, and see what I can do is I can check the newspaper and see when they attack in, and check my front reports and see when they attack in. So if this somehow has disabled flowers, that flowers just don't work anymore, what I anticipate will happen is these guys are going to attack again in 36 minutes. Well, they'll get their attack. Then these guys will attack in at 3:18, 3 hours and 18. These guys are 6-7 hours away. That's quite a time from now, about 5 in the morning my time. But we'll see what happens when they attack in. Will they join in with the initial army and wait to attack next, or will they attack right away? And then will they glom on? Will they join in into one big army and then split back up again into three? That's mainly what I'm concerned about here. I'm sorry we can't really watch this in real time because it is late at night my time. But I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted on what's going on. This is the beta game right now. I'm kind of loving this because I'm able to sort of attack in and take out this guy. Let's go ahead and do another flower over here, because why not? You tell me I can't, I'm going to try, because I want to see how it is that you can prevent it from happening. That's the main thing. All right, that's it, guys. New mechanics. We're exploring it for the very first time here. I encourage you, please share any insight that you have about the new mechanics, because this is big stuff, like really big changes going on here. And people are excited about it because if it delivers what it promises, it really will help to sort of level off the playing field in a lot of different areas. I think most people are pretty optimistic about it. And now we're at the point where we want to just see how that actually works out in the actual real world in the game. So that's what we're looking at now. All right, thanks for checking in, guys. I'll see y'all next time. Adios, amigos.